I'm Kerry Bowers, and I approve this message.
Greetings. One of the most serious and fervently contested issues among Americans today is the matter of abortion. This issue and the question of when life begins is posed to most every candidate for elected office. So, as with other important issues, I choose to make known to you my opinion in order that you may use it as another measure by which you may judge me for the most important executive position in our nation. As a believer that God created this world and the life upon it when it was without form, I believe too that human life begins when it is without apparent form in that instant of time when conception occurs. No other point in time can be arbitrarily selected to say that this is the point when human life has been created, since from the time of conception, life is a continuous process that evolves until the day we begin to return to the dust from which we came. I have read the case of Roe versus Wade and seen in writing the rationalization of man as applied to the life-ending act of another human. And it is just that, the reasoning of man to accommodate man's needs versus that which is the needs of the one who created man. As I have stated in another presentation, I believe that a child, every child, is a gift of God. Sometimes the acts that create a child are not of God's will, and yet the child is a work of God made possible through the creation God has designed, by which children are conceived, gestate in the womb of a woman, and then born into a sinful world. Regardless of the reason, it then is a termination of God's process through which man intervenes to cease a life. And it will be for those who participate in such action to be judged by the one who makes all things, including life, possible. I will not be a judge, but I will be one who prays for the mother, the child, the father, and the doctors who may be called upon to tend to each of them as decisions are implemented and consequences, good or bad, are carried out. I do not want the office of the President, a human creation, to be looked to as a source of rationale in a mother's or family's deliberations when it comes to the termination of a child's life. Instead, I want the President to be one who puts his faith in the guidance from one greater than he, and that prays for the mother, the family, and the unborn for spiritual intervention, and a response that meets with the wants of the Creator and the needs of the family. Therefore, it is not the ruling of Roe versus Wade that should be the focus for the protection of life in America, but the indifference to life, especially when it is based on a matter of inconvenience to the mother and to which the father may concur. This is what we must focus upon, and as good citizens get involved and voluntarily provide the benevolent support networks needed to assist those that may be weighing life termination versus life continuation. If we were to repeal Roe versus Wade without changing the hearts of those led to such consideration, it will not stop the abortions. This is what Supreme Court Justice Blackmun wisely implied in his opinion for the case when he pointed out that abortions have occurred since ancient times, as so documented in text from antiquity. The court, in my opinion, while recognizing it could not save the life of a child destined for termination, could opt to provide the means by which it may save the life of a mother that may otherwise obtain relief through potentially dangerous means. The one issue in the matter of life termination that I believe the President has a responsibility to act is with regard to taxpayer-funded abortive procedures. In this case, I believe taxpayer support should be reserved only to those procedures where competent medical authority has deemed life termination for the child to be necessary to the preservation of the mother's life. This would be applicable to those individuals with authorized access to military, Veterans Administration, and Medicare or Medicaid programs funded by the taxpayer. In summary, I believe that human life begins at conception, and I will leave to the Creator to judge the termination of life while still dependent upon the mother for sustainment. I will uphold the laws of man with regard to such terminations, but I will put my focus and energy into changing man's indifference to life. I will do this through prayer and encouragement, both for the mother and for the good American people who can build support organizations for mothers who choose life for their children. I will obstruct, through veto and repeal of law, any attempt to implement taxpayer-funded life abortive procedures, excluding those cases where competent medical authority has determined such procedures necessary to the health of the mother's life. I thank you for your attention to this message.